Hey guys, APG40 here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the Apex Pro TKL versus the Ducky One Two Mini. If you want to know more about the Apex Pro TKL, I have another video that I made about it about a month ago. As for the Ducky One Two Mini, I don't have any videos about it on my channel, but comment down below if you want to see a video about it individually. Also, if you really enjoy the video, please feel free to subscribe, like the video, comment, tell me what you're thinking, drop any questions down in the comment section if a point isn't clear in my video. And feel free to follow me on Twitter because I'm trying to grow my Twitter right now. The way this video is going to work is that I'm going to go over different categories of what makes a good keyboard, and whichever keyboard is better in that certain category is going to get 1 point. So the first category is going to be the size. When it comes to the Apex Pro TKL, it is a 10 keyless keyboard, meaning that it will have arrow keys and it's going to have the F keys. But the Ducky One Two Mini does have no arrow keys and no F keys, and the escape key is going to be lower down, so it is much smaller. So the point right here is going to go to the Ducky because it'll just fit into more setups, smaller desks, smaller area to put in. And if you play on a vertical keyboard, it'll be much easier because you don't have the arrow keys get in your way. The second category is going to be switches. The point goes to the Apex Pro here because its OmniPoint switches are outstanding, and it's basically the best switches on the market. They're the fastest switches, they feel really nice, etc. Omni switches are basically these new switches that have been developed by SteelSeries just for the Apex Pro TKL. They have the same feel as a mechanical red, so Cherry MX red switches, but they are designed to be much faster and much smoother and more responsive than the red switches, which is why the Apex Pro actually costs a lot of money. There's a lot of differences between the OmniPoint switches and the Cherry MX switches. One of the main differences is the response time. The Cherry MX switch response time is 5 milliseconds, and the OmniPoint switches are clocking at 0.7 milliseconds, which is a huge difference. And you can actually tell the difference. I've used both keyboards. And another huge difference is the actuation point. The actuation point on the OmniPoint switches are 0.4 millimeters, and on the Cherry MX, they are 1.2 millimeters for the speed switches and 2 millimeters for the brown, blue, and red. Also, the OmniPoint switches durability is up to 100 million key presses, and the standard mechanical is up to 50 million key presses. So SteelSeries went all out on these OmniPoint switches. It's just so much faster and smoother than the Cherry MX switches. And trust me, I've used both of them, and from experience, it's definitely way smoother. And even if 0.4 millimeter actuation point is in your head too little, you're accidentally going to click it too much, you can change it to 0.8 or 1.2. And 1.2 would equal the Cherry MX speed switches, which are the fastest switches you can get for Cherry MX standard switches. I personally don't think getting used to 0.4 millimeter actuation point is going to be a big deal. I'm a huge fan of Bugha, and I watch him a lot on Twitch, and I remember when he first got this keyboard, he was having a lot of trouble with it, and he was switching between the Matrix and this one because he thought it was too sensitive and everything, but he decided to just stick with the Apex Pro, and now he's completely used to it. All you need to do is just give it time, get used to the keyboard, and the 0.4 millimeter actuation point is going to be way faster and to your benefit. So if you end up getting this keyboard, you can't just give up on it because of the actuation. Just give yourself time, get used to it, because in the end it's going to help you a lot. So that just about wraps it up on the switches. I know I talked a lot about it, but I think it's one of the most important parts of the video. And on to the next topic. The third category is going to be software and features. The Apex Pro takes the point here because its software is really good, and it has an LCD screen and a volume wheel for the features. Versus the Ducky, which doesn't have a software, it's just full macros. So when you buy a Ducky, you'll get a manual that shows you all the macros to change the colors around everything. But for the Apex Pro, you can just download the software off SteelSeries' website, and through the software you can change the logo in the LCD panel. You can change the actuation points of all the switches. You can change the coloring around. There's a bunch of different settings with that. And it's all around just much easier to change settings on the Apex Pro than it is on the Ducky. But this also doesn't make a huge deal because the Ducky's stock settings are already really good and you don't really need to change them. But like if you're like hardcore, you just really want to make the lighting different or something like that, then the Apex Pro definitely has better features and software. The next category is going to be stock keycaps. The Ducky takes the show here because it comes in PBT double shot stock keycaps that also have a really nice texture on them, and I never had to switch any of them out. But at Apex Pro, it comes with ABS plastic keycaps, which basically they wear out really fast and they're not as durable and nice feeling as the PBT double shot keycaps on the Ducky. So I actually had to buy a new set of keycaps for the Apex Pro. And if you go to the comment section of my video about the Apex Pro, I think over half the comments are asking me about my keycaps. So if you still are wondering what my keycaps are, the white and black ones I just bought on eBay. They're just PBT double shot keycaps from eBay, and then I have some rubber ones from Tfue. So this category is going to be about the noise. So be prepared for a little bit of ASMR in the video, and I'm going to be doing a noise test of both the keyboards. As you can see from the two noise tests, the Apex Pro TKL is clearly louder than the Ducky, and that's just due to its switches. The Apex Pro TKL is omni-point switches, which are way louder than just the Ducky's normal Cherry MX Silver switches. So if you don't like playing with the super loud keyboard, or like you do recordings with a keyboard, or you just play with people that don't want to hear a loud keyboard, then the Ducky is better in that situation. But if you really cared about like the sound and you wanted the Apex Pro, then just get O-rings for your keyboard. O-rings are basically little things that you put under the switch on your keyboard that make it quieter. A lot of streamers like to use that. So yeah. I'm going to give both sides a point here because the Ducky is a little bit quieter than the Apex Pro, but the switches in general are just way better in the Apex Pro, and you can just get O-rings. So I'm going to give both sides a point because it kind of evens out. So the final and probably one of the most important categories of this whole video is going to be the price. Now the price of these two keyboards is probably going to be what makes or breaks whether someone's going to buy this keyboard or not. The Ducky One Two Mini comes in at $100, which is a good price for the keyboard. I mean, it's a really high quality keyboard. It has like really good switches. It's like the keycaps are great quality on it. Like I even switched, I think the white keycaps on my Apex Pro are actually from my Ducky, and then the black ones are from a set on eBay, like I said earlier in the video. But that's how much I like the Ducky keycaps. They're just really nice quality keycaps, and like everything about the keyboard is good quality. With the Apex Pro, it's the same stuff. It is good quality. It's durable. I will say it does get a little more dirty than the Ducky because there's more open space for dust to crawl into it, but that's not really a huge deal for me. I'll just clean it off. But the thing that makes the Apex Pro cost a lot more is the switches. Like I've said earlier in the video, these switches are state-of-the-art switches. The OmniPoint, they're so much faster than everything else, and that's just going to raise the price up on all of this stuff. And because of that, they cut prices and a little bit of other things, like the stock keycaps I said earlier, they're all they weren't PBT. And another thing that brings up the price on the Apex Pro, it has an OLED screen on the right, which is actually one of my favorite features about the keyboard. And if you're gonna spend $180 on a keyboard because of the switches, you might as well have some style with it too, if you know what I mean. And then there's also a volume wheel on the far right side, and then there's a couple like macros that have to be put into the thing that to make the software and everything and all that, in which the Ducky doesn't have a software. so they don't have to make it as expensive. As for the price being worth it for each keyboard, I say they're both equal value of price per performance, because the Apex Pro may cost a lot more, but it also has a lot more. Like, it has the switches, is what I mean by that. Like, the switches are really expensive to make and everything, obviously, because they're the best switches on the market. So they have to bring the price up on the keyboard. If they don't do that, then they're just not going to make a profit, and it's really stupid for them to just make it really cheap. And the Ducky is like also a really good price, high quality, everything. It has multiple different kinds of switches on it, and for $100. So I'm gonna give both sides a point here again, because the price per performance is good on both keyboards. So that means that it basically comes down to personal preference. If you want to spend more money to get better switches on a keyboard, go for the Apex Pro. And if you want to get like a really good high quality keyboard that's cheaper with good switches, and go for the Ducky. Yeah, so that's basically going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter will be linked in the description. It's twitter.com/apg40_. I'm trying to grow my Twitter right now, so I would really appreciate if you follow me, and feel free to DM me too. I'll respond to your DMs.